ordeal about what's in the front row. So gotta have some respect. We made a sign for you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Suzan DelBene, the chair of the DCCC. Appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much to Leader Jeffries for just your steadfast and unwavering leadership. When Donald Trump and Republicans started their political power grab last summer in Texas, the leader was unfazed and has been tireless in making sure the Democratic response was united, strong, fierce, and that whatever we did to fight back, it was always in the best interest of the American people. Thank you to the General Assembly, who had the courage to give Virginians the opportunity to fight back. Thank you to Governor Abigail Spanberger, to Senator Louise Lucas, and Speaker Don Scott for standing shoulder to shoulder with us and making today possible. Thank you to everyone in the Commonwealth who voted, who volunteered, who stood up for fair representation. Because of you, we have held back a Republican power grab and leveled the playing field in the fight for the majority in the People's House. Last night's results are what happens when voters decide, and it's as simple as that. Contrast that to House Republicans who have, at every possible opportunity, ignored the people that they are supposed to serve. Last year, they hid from the public while they shoved their big, ugly bill through that decimated health care, raised costs, and took food off of people's tables, all because Donald Trump demanded it. They stayed on vacation during the longest government shutdown in history while Democrats were fighting for affordable health care. And instead of listening to their local businesses or the struggling families in their districts, pleading with them to stop Donald Trump's reckless tariffs, They just rubber stamped them. So when Donald Trump called up and said, give me 5 more seats in Texas, it is sadly no surprise that they all just said, yes, sir. And that's fundamentally what's been behind the Republican effort to rig the midterms, of subservience to Donald Trump while they ignore their constituents back home. But we're seeing the American people fight back. Voters from California to Virginia and everywhere in between won't let Republicans cheat their way into holding on to power. We've always said that the public hates the Republican scheme to rig the midterms, and when given the opportunity, they would hold Republicans accountable for their attack on fair representation. And last night, the voters of Virginia rejected the Republican power grab and helped put us on the path to House Democrats taking back the majority. Listening to the American people and fighting for them should not be a novel concept, yet for Republicans, they're either incapable or indifferent to it. Their refusal to fight for the people is a defining contrast. And because Democrats are listening to the people, we are winning. And our work is not yet done. The ultimate referendum will take place at the ballot box this November, and we're confident that voters will hold Republicans accountable for their cruel, cost-spiking, and corrupt agenda, and power Democrats to victory in the midterms when we take back the House majority. This has been a critical time. We are using every tool to continue to fight back and stand up for the American people. And the person who has been leading us, and as I said before, tirelessly, has been our incredible leader, Hakeem Jeffries. I'm going to turn over to him.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much to Suzan DelBene, our field general, who is doing an extraordinary job leading the DCCC in our efforts to make sure that we take back the House in November. House Democrats will continue to fight one battle after another on behalf of the American people. We're battling them on the economy, battling them on tariffs, battling them on health care, battling them on nutritional assistance, battling them on ICE funding, battling them on Donald Trump's reckless and costly war of choice, and battling them on their gerrymandering scheme. Last night was a big victory for the people of Virginia, a big victory for America, and a big victory for democracy. Donald Trump and Republicans launched this gerrymandering war, and we've made clear as Democrats that we're going to finish it on behalf of the American people. We will not let Donald Trump rig the midterm elections by gerrymandering maps all across the country without a forceful Democratic response. That is what you saw in Virginia. That is what you will see in Florida. And that is what has taken place all across the country. Prop 50 in California, forcing them into a dummy mander in Texas, picking up a seat in Utah, stopping them in New Hampshire, stopping them in Indiana, stopping them in Kansas, stopping them in Nebraska, pushing them back in Ohio, and winning a big victory for the American people in Virginia. These Republican extremists thought that we were going to step back. They had us confused. We were never going to step back. We're going to continue to fight back all the way through November 3rd, where Democrats will take back control of the House of Representatives so we can drive down the high cost of living, fix our broken health care system, clean up corruption, get ICE under control, stop this reckless and costly war of choice in this national nightmare in America, and continue our country's march toward a more perfect union. I want to thank Governor Spanberger, thank Speaker Don Scott, thank the General Assembly, thank the Virginia Congressional Delegation, and thank President Barack Obama, Attorney General Eric Holder, and everyone who was involved in this extraordinary effort to get this done in Virginia as part of our unyielding commitment to stop the MAGA power grab wherever it is taking place across this country. It's now my honor to yield to the whip, my good friend, my classmate, an extraordinary leader, Katherine Clark.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Leader. We are so grateful for you, for your vision, for your fight, and for helping have this victory. And to Suzan DelBene for her courage and strength as she marches towards victory in November, giving us the resources and the vision of how we get this done. So it's a funny thing about a GOP agenda that inflicts higher prices, corruption, and war. It makes people angry and it inflicts economic pain. But instead of choosing to work for Americans, the Republicans in the House have decided to rig our elections. They try to cling to power by choosing their voters. And this started in North Carolina in the 24 elections, where the 3 seats that they eliminated cost us the majority. But they went on, instead of taking that majority and putting it to use for the good of the American people, it has been an agenda of costs, cruelty, and chaos. Democrats have taken a different route. We think the American people should decide the future of their democracy. We think they should decide who controls the people's house, not the politicians. And that's why we're putting redistricting on the ballot, not making backroom deals that are forced on voters. And that's why we are winning. The American people deserve better than they're getting. They deserve better than illegal tariffs and healthcare cuts and secret police causing chaos and murdering Americans in the streets. That's why Republicans are losing this redistricting fight that they started, from California to Utah to now Virginia. And it's why Democrats are going to win in November. And I am also, on my list of those that we are grateful to, include the chairman of our caucus, Pete Aguilar, who helped us lead the efforts in California to meet Republicans and bring us to victory in that redistricting effort, and was absolutely critical in the results we saw in Virginia. With that, I yield to you, Pete.
Thank you, Whip Clark, and to Suzan DelBene and Leader Jeffries. Truly, without their efforts here leaning in, this would not have happened. But it's very clear. The American people have spoken. They are not going to stand by and let Donald Trump and House Republicans rig our elections so that we have 2 more years of making life harder and more expensive for working families. In Virginia and California and Utah and in states around the country, Americans have made their voices heard, and they have fought back against Republican attempts to silence them. For more than a year, the American people have watched as Republicans have ripped away health care, driven up costs, prioritized billionaires over their lives. But rather than change their policies to actually improve the lives of people around our country, Republicans and Donald Trump have doubled down, working to steal the next election to support their own efforts. Democrats won't let that happen. I was privileged to play a role in our efforts in Proposition 50 in California to directly counter Trump and the Texas scheme that he engineered. And in the fall, Californians made it clear that Republicans had violated that trust that night. And Virginians made it clear last night. And they said clearly, enough is enough. While Republicans take their cues from Donald Trump, drawing maps in back rooms and in the middle of the night without input of voters, Democrats, in these examples that we have talked about, took that fight to the American people. And at the ballot box, members, constituents in these states had the opportunity to push back against Donald Trump, and the people decided. Democrats have the momentum, the candidates, and the American people on our side. We will fight, and we will win the House this November. Republicans have started this fight, but Democrats, and more importantly, the American people are the ones who will finish it. Yield back to the leader.
Thank you, Pete, and let me join Katherine in thanking you and members of the California delegation, Zoe Lofgren, who did an amazing job in connection with that unified effort to win Prop 50 decisively at the beginning of this fight. And as Pete indicated, and Katherine and Susan, we're in this fight until we win this fight on behalf of the American people. Questions?
If Democrats do win back the House next year, will you advance a bill to ban gerrymandering and advance independent redistricting, or is this a recognition of a new era when every state will try to draw maps based on political parties?
We've continued to stand behind our prior efforts to establish one national standard that would prohibit mid-decade partisan gerrymandering all across the country. But what we're not going to do is unilaterally disarm. Apparently, that's what Donald Trump believed that we would do. That's what James Blair believed that we would do. They had us confused in terms of the moment that we're in and the need to push back consistently with the fierce urgency of now.
Going back to that moment when James Blair and Donald Trump were talking about Texas, there was a lot of talk about how risky this is, that it would look like you guys were hypocritical by now embracing a response by mid-decade re-gerrymander. So can you go back to that moment, why you decided to move forward on this?
The stakes are incredibly high, and it's the American people who should be the ones to decide who serves in the majority, not Donald Trump and his MAGA extremists. They launched this gerrymandering war because they were trying to rig the midterm elections and prevent the people from being able to decide who actually controls the majority. And the reason why they've launched this gerrymandering war is because Republicans under Donald Trump have been a complete and total failure. They failed on everything, everywhere, most significantly on the economy. And now they've gotten us into this reckless war of choice. I want to yield to Susan and Katherine to respond to this, but from the very beginning, in our conversations with Gavin Newsom, the Democrats in the Texas legislature who made the brave decision to go on quorum break so they could shine a spotlight on Donald Trump's gerrymandering scheme nationally, as opposed to Texas Republicans being allowed to simply get away with it in the dead of night. But we also decided that as we were going to respond in a manner consistent with our values. Yes, we were going to win this fight. But it's also important to note, our response has been forceful, temporary, as a direct reaction to what MAGA extremists have done, and at all times approved by the voters. That's the big difference between how we've approached this effort and Republicans who are going into state legislatures in the dead of night, passing maps, and then being afraid to present those maps to the people in those states. Right now in Missouri, we have collected enough signatures to take the Missouri gerrymander before the people in November for an up or down vote as to whether that map should take effect after the 2026 election. And Republicans are fighting us in court. And so we don't want to hear any pearl clutching from these people on the other side of the aisle. We take our case to the voters. They don't. And if they're on the right side of this fight, why are they pushing back in Missouri? Just allow the map to go forward, the current map to go forward, and then the voters can decide in Missouri, pursuant to the Missouri Constitution, as to whether it should be enacted. The Republicans are fighting us right now because they're afraid of their own voters. But we're going to keep the pressure on them at all times. Katherine, Susan?
I just want to add, the reason they started down this path is they know the American people have turned against the Republican agenda. And so if you think you're winning with voters, they support what you're doing, the legislation you've passed, the actions taken by the White House, then why would you go about trying to rig the system? They're rigging the system because they know they're losing. And instead of listening to the American people, they've decided the only way they can win is to try to redistrict and change the rules to favor them. And it is, as the leader said, they won't go to the people. They don't take the vote to people. In Missouri, they're doing everything possible to try to prevent the people from having a say. In Florida, the people have been clear. They passed a law to prevent mid-cycle redistricting, and they're not going to the people to ask them if they want to change that. They're trying to look at redistricting there as well without talking to the people of Florida. That's what Republicans are doing across the board, and I think it's very clear. People are tired of the Republican agenda. We've seen in special elections, Democrats are running ahead across the country. And we have opportunities even in places like Texas now, because people are so tired of what they see from Republicans, to pick up seats. So we are going to continue to fight all across the country, and the American people are with us.
Yeah, we just briefly re-emphasize what the leader just said. They are operating from a place of fear because they fear their own voters, because they chose an agenda that drove up prices, that has corruption at its heart, and that has created chaos in American communities as what they were going to do. And when the American people are telling them that they are not making it, that over 60% of American families are unable to meet the basic needs, their response isn't, we've got to correct course and start working for them, live up to our promises of reducing costs, of releasing the Epstein files and no new wars. They're going along with an agenda that gives up on all of that. And so when they are trying to win an election on broken promises, this is what they came up with as the only path forward. The choices have always been there for them. They choose Donald Trump over the American people, and now they are choosing a power grab over putting this before voters. And so at every turn, we are going to stand firm and together with what the American people are asking from us, to see us get us relief in housing prices, groceries, utility bills, restore our health care and help it overhaul this system so I can afford health care where and when I need it, and get a government that is working for me, the taxpayer, and is not working for the benefit of a president and his family. This is what the American people are desperate for. And after their redistricting that they did behind closed doors in Texas, what did we see in the primary? A Democratic turnout that was well over Republican that hasn't happened in decades. It was presidential level turnout. And last night in Virginia, we saw the same turnout of a gubernatorial race with not a single candidate on the ballot, but the idea that our elections should be fair and they should be secure, and that our agenda should be focused on the American people. That's why it won. That's why we'll win in November.
Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. The Supreme Court released two decisions today, neither of them was Louisiana voting rights case. Are you confident that when the decision does drop, that it may be too late for it to have an effect on these maps, or are you all taking contingencies for when the decision drops, how it may impact any of the gains that you've made?
The right thing for the Supreme Court to do is to uphold Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. This is a historic, enduring, bipartisan piece of legislation. The Voting Rights Act is the most important civil rights legislation ever enacted in the history of the country, and it's designed to protect free and fair elections. Just 2 years ago, Justice Roberts and Justice Kavanaugh upheld Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why they would do anything different in this instance. Now, I know that some of the far-right justices who are operating in the pocket of the Republican Party are trying to do everything possible to give MAGA extremists an electoral advantage, and we're just not going to let it happen. Whenever the Supreme Court decision comes down, hopefully a majority of the justices do the right thing, but whatever the circumstances are, we are committed to ensuring that there's going to be a free and fair election in November, and when that happens, Democrats will take back control of the House of Representatives. Thanks.
How would Democrats respond if the Virginia nonpartisan Supreme Court does ultimately strike down this new map and find the referendum illegal?
The law is with us in Virginia, the facts are with us in Virginia, and the people are with us in Virginia. There's no basis in law or fact for the Virginia Supreme Court, under the Constitution that exists, particularly in the aftermath of a people-approved referendum, to do anything other than to allow it to move forward. Susan?
Looking into Florida, the state Supreme Court there has shown a willingness to greenlight already gerrymandered maps in spite of their Fair Districts Amendment. How confident are you that you would prevail in court should the Republicans enact a new map there?
I mean, we know that the governor has talked about ignoring the will of the people. We're going to continue to fight back, and we also know that we have opportunities across Florida to pick up seats, and we will continue to do that. People, again, are tired of what they see the Republican priorities are, not the American people, but basically doing Donald Trump's bidding. And you've seen even in state legislative seats in Florida, just huge swings, even more recently, including that legislative seat with Mar-a-Lago in it. A huge swing because people want folks who are going to stand up for them. So I think we have opportunities in Florida, and absolutely we're going to fight back every way that we can to make sure that their voices are heard.
Our message to Florida Republicans is F around and find out. If they go down the road of a DeSantis dummy-mander, the Florida Republicans are going to find themselves in the same situation as Texas Republicans, who are on the run right now, and under no circumstances are Texas Republicans picking up 5 seats. They'll be fortunate if they get 2 or 3. While in California, we are going to get all 5. The Republicans are dummy-mandering their way into the minority before a single vote is cast, because they started this war, and we're going to finish it. The electoral tide is turning in Florida. As Chairwoman DelBene illustrated, we won the Miami mayor's race in December for the first time in almost 30 years by 20 points. And now Eileen Higgins is mayor in a city that's 75% Latino, including Cuban Americans and Venezuelan Americans, amongst some of the more conservative members of the Latino community in the nation. But the city of Miami, for the first time in 3 decades, broke heavily in our direction. We flipped the seat in Mar-a-Lago, of all places, when Donald Trump endorsed the Republican candidate and Republicans went all in. And we also won a seat in that same special election last month in Central Texas, in the Tampa Bay area. The signs are there, which is why there are many Republicans within the congressional delegation who have already publicly said in Florida to their governor and to the White House, it would be a mistake to go into Florida and do a DeSantis dummy-mander. We agree, but go ahead and make our day. We are all in Florida. And it's Republicans who are putting a target on the backs of their own members politically at this moment in time. Last question?
Thank you, Leader. If Florida does go ahead, where do Democrats, what other states do Democrats look to the counter on that?
We are in an era of maximum warfare. Everywhere, all the time. And we're going to keep the pressure on Republicans in every single state in the union to ensure at the end of the day that there is a fair national map. Because we believe that it's the people who should decide who's in the majority in the next Congress, not Donald Trump and MAGA extremists. Thank you all.
More than one today.
I'm walking back to oh, okay. Hey, you made it. Hello, Orton. Good to see you. Thanks for making it. Yeah.
Big deal.
Dan Schmidt, Chairwoman Chief Staff.
Good seeing you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.